Okay, in this tutorial we're going to look at how we export a AutoCAD file into Illustrator to use on the laser cutter. Excuse me. So to start with, what we have to do, you can see here I've got an object. It's going to be a light shade. Let's say I've got parts of it missing. There's the two sides and the top and the bottoms. So what I need to do is I first of all need to take this drawing from model space to paper space. So I'm going to click on this little tab here and go to plan. You'll have a similar tab down the bottom. Yours will look something like this. So it doesn't matter which one you use. You'll notice on mine that I have got rid of the title block and the border. So to do that, you just click on it and delete. And you can just click on that and delete. Okay, so that's all I did in the previous one. So I'll just go back to plan. And then I just click on this little blue line, this blue rectangle here, which is the viewport. So anything in that viewport will actually be on the sheet of paper. The broken line, if I press escape, it deselects that. You'll see the little broken dotted line around the outside. That's the printable area. So whatever you do has to be printed, has to be inside that blue area. You can see I've got part of my other drawing there. I'm not going to fit it all in, obviously, so I'm just going to grab that viewport and drag it around there so it doesn't print, because we don't want any extraneous detail in this exported file. We just want what we're going to cut or etch. Okay, so on here you'll see my line work. So any solid line that's there at the moment will cut, all right? And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. I left a little scale there, so I'll get rid of that because we don't need it. Okay, so I've got my drawing set up. It's ready to export. So I'm just going to go to the big A up here, and I'm going to export and go to PDF to create a PDF file. I'm going to call this Laser Light 2, so Laser Light Shade 2, and save it to my desktop. You will obviously save it to your CAD folder on your student drive. I'm going to close this folder now because I've saved that. Actually, before I do, Control S to save this. Control S, quick save. You can see it comes up there. I'm going to close this folder. Sorry, this program. And then I'm going to look for my file, which is Laser Light 2. Now I right click on this file and I then go to Open With. And we want to go to Open with Adobe Illustrator. Now if you don't do it that way, sometimes it doesn't open the file to the correct scale. It rescales it for some reason, so make sure you open it that way. And it should open it to scale. We're going to check that as soon as we open it. Just close this. Okay, so there's our image there. Now, for some reason it's rotated in a funny orientation, but we'll fix that later. So what we want to then do is go to File and New, and we want to call this light shade 2. And we want to make sure that our profile is basic RGB. So if I click in there and make sure it's ticked, it'll probably default to print. So just make sure it's basic RGB. We then want to set up the file, but with the units we want in millimeters. So we want to set up the space, the paper space, or the artboard, sorry, to be the same size as the laser cutter bed, so that it can it's identical. So I'm just going to backspace in there, and the first width that we put in is 726 millimeters wide. If I press the tab key, and it's 432 high. So just check that you've named it. You'll notice here that the profile defaults to custom. Don't worry, it'll be fine. It will be saved as a RGB file, red, green, blue, and the size is correct and the correct units, and we just click OK. So now we've got our right format size artboard. So just to make sure that the case, we're going to click on View. And this just helps to give you a sense of scale. We're going to go down to Rulers, Show Rulers, and you can see I've got my rulers here, and it's set up for 726 by 432. You'll notice up the top here it says Light Shade 2 RGB, and this one is Light Shade PDF, which is CMYK, so that's why we've had to create a new file. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to use my selection tool, and I'm going to click, drag that, hold it into the tab, Light Shade 2 with my left mouse button down, drag it onto the screen, and then I can let go, and it'll drag that down. I can press my arrow key while it's selected to bring that down, or I should be able to just click on the object and drag it around. So I'm just going to orientate it close to the edge so it's in a better position. Now you notice when I select it, it selects everything in that box. So if I right click on that, I need to release it. So I'm going to release the clipping mask by left clicking, and then I'm going to then I can select individual lines in that object. Okay, so now they're all separate lines. What I'm going to do now is I need to change that from black to red, to RGB red. So I'm just going to show you where it is. If you click in the stroke panel, RGB red, and I make sure that the fill panel is none, so there's no fill. We also want to change the stroke size. So I'm going to go to, I want to put in a hairline, so I click in here. I want to put in a hairline, so it's, the hairline is 0.001, and click out here. Now when I select that object, it'll default back to whatever it is. So I'm just going to select everything inside this marquee here, and I'm going to put it on RGB red, make sure it's none, and I'm going to select 0.001 as my line weight, and then click outside here. Now you'll see a lot of the lines drop out. Don't worry, they're actually there. It's just that because the line weight is so fine, it's hard to see them, but they're all actually there. So now what I've got is all my lines in red, RGB red, 0.001, and the laser cutter will actually be able to read those. And it will, any red line it sees there, it will actually cut. But if you look, zoom in, and if I press Control plus, and I'll just move across, some of these lines I actually, these hatches here, I don't want to cut, I want to engrave. So I'm going to change them to a black line because the laser cutter reads black as engrave. And I do want fill, so I'm going to click on fill. I want it as black, so black stroke, black fill, and I want to change the point size here to maybe 0.25. So now you'll see that they're black. So anything I want to engrave, I select. Oops, I should have held the Control key then, sorry. No, it didn't work, it doesn't matter, I'll come back and do it. Sorry, I'll do that again. I want to change that to black, black fill, and 0.25. And I just go through the whole drawing. Actually, that, sorry, that I'd want that to be cut. So I'm just going to go back there. It should be red. It should be no fill. And that should be, click in there, 0.001. Okay, now I know it's hard to see the lines, but you'll just have to believe me when I say they are there. If I select them, you'll see how they appear, but you just can't see them because the line, it's a hairline, it's very, very fine. So I'm not sure why it does that, but it should cut. So all you need to do now is save the file. So File, Save As. I'm just going to save this to my desktop, but you will save it to your student drive, and I'm going to call it Light Shade. It'll save it as an AI file. So I just go Save, Now you'll get this dialog box, just click OK. And there it is saved. Now you should be able to just send this to the laser cutter, or set it up on the laser cutter, and it should cut your light shade. And that's pretty much all you need to know. Control minus to get it back. The next part you would import and nest next to it. So if you've got 4 sides, you just import that in as a separate drawing, and your top and bottom. And you should, if you've designed it correctly, it should all fit on that page, because you're only allowed one run at the laser cutter. Anyway, good luck with that, and have a go at it and see what happens. Hopefully it'll work.